Welcome to Cellmate.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Kate Phillips, co-host of Cellmate's podcast.
Thanks, Dick Ward, for opening our show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were also the co-host of Cellmate's podcast.
That's true. And may I say that this is a show where we compare, contrast, and generally Venn diagram two animated features that are usually Disney.
But not always.
Usually musicals.
Not always.
And usually good.
Not always.
Today's great.
I think so.
I like generally great today.
So this theme we started as kind of a joke.
Yes.
A lot of times.
Much like our last two episodes of Mouse Month.
Well, but like that's related, right? Like, okay, these mice movies all made in the 80s. There's like a bunch of different things that make them.
Yeah.
This one is like, wouldn't it be funny to call the episode this? And we were both on board.
Well, let's not be cryptic. We'll start the show the way we always do. Kate, what are you drinking?
Dick, I don't know what I'm drinking.
Well, what is it? What do you think?
I've got some things in it. Mm-hmm. There's some lemon something in it.
Yeah.
There's some like whiskey bourbon something in it. And there's something like sweet, almost like sugar, but not.
All right.
And it's like maybe I could like swim in a vat of it and sing a song if I were Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, you're talking about a different thing than I thought you were.
The honey could sing at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what you're drinking is a concoction that I've made. The honey that you alluded to is a German honey bourbon called Badenjäger, which means bear hunter.
Sure does.
It is not related to Jägermeister, which is Mr. Hunter.
Sure isn't.
In German.
And it's got a picture of a bear on it.
It does. And bears love honey, so this all works together. But specifically this drink, I did add some lemon juice just to cut it, but also some ginger. And this is a ginger bear.
Oh, a ginger bear.
Just like at least one of our movies is very ginger focused.
It's ginger focused, but the bear is not the ginger. She's the only non-ginger of her family.
It's hard to make a drink called The Bear is Not a Ginger, but there's another ginger. So this is called a ginger bear.
Welcome to Brother Bear, Mother Bear.
Brother Bear, Mother Bear.
Episode of podcast.
Yeah.
Episode of the podcast.
So this was one that we talked about early on, jokingly, because I was like, oh, we got to do Brother Bear. And you're like, Brother Bear, Mother Bear.
Brother
and I'm
Bear,
like,
Mother Bear.
What?
What's Mother Bear?
Because I had not seen Brave.
So, well, I was just going to say, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
If you don't want to know, it happens like halfway through the movie. Anyway.
I mean, you'll find out very quickly.
Spoiler alert for the movie Brave. Turn it off now if you don't want to know.
Turn it off 1 minute ago if you don't want to know.
But there's a mother bear in it.
Mm-hmm. And there's a mother bear and brother bear.
Yes, that's true.
That is true.
She's dead for most of the movie. Spoiler alert, retroactively.
Also, he was dead the whole time. Spoiler alert for The Sixth Sense.
Haley Joel Osment?
Yes. Haley Joel Osment has been dead.
Yeah.
For 1,000 years.
Brother Bear, Mother Bear. 1, the title's fun to say.
Yeah.
2,
Wait, I challenge the audience to say it right now and not have fun. Go. Yeah, that's
Good
what
job.
I thought. Brother Bear, Mother Bear.
It has human characters magically turning into bears.
For reasons.
And then, working toward getting turned back into humans.
Taking a literal and figurative journey.
Through the woods?
Yeah, through the woods. But, they're taking, an emotional journey.
Mm-hmm.
I think both characters... The idea is that both characters are changing in some way.
Yes.
They are very much the beast. They have to be nice to Belle so that she will kiss him. and then they will transform back into a gross prince with no beard.
But no romantic I switched the vowels. No romantic relationships in these movies.
Actually
Not
true.
at the there are strong relationships, familial,
and
you might even say.
there are attempted romantic relationships in Brave.
Yes, that is true.
But there are no, like, romance is not the focus of either of these
Yes.
movies. These are all, like you said, familial relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So do you want to pick one to start with? What do you want to start with today?
Let's start with Brother Bear.
Okay.
We usually talk about who's going to summarize which one.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
We didn't do that.
We have, so for the audience, we have 1 hour and 39 minutes until All Out, the premiere show of All Elite Wrestling, which I am very excited about.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode will be no longer than whatever time.
This episode will be all about cutting corners.
This is going to be done at 7.
You're welcome.
Yup.
All right. Dick, I've seen both these movies 2 times, and you've only seen each once. Would you like to do Brother Bear or Brave?
I would like to do Brother Bear.
All right. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the cookie timer clock.
First, Kate, let me ask you this. What was your first experience
I'm trying to
with
cut
Brother
corners
Bear?
here. I'm working as fast as I can.
What was your first experience with Brother Bear?
We saw this one in theaters, surprisingly, because it wasn't an era where we were going to see, like, Dinosaur cut it off for us.
Okay,
we went
so
to see Dinosaur.
I was just about to ask that.
We thought, this is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so we just didn't go for a while.
So we've got, like, is it Tarzan, Dinosaur, Brother Bear?
So the movies in between Dinosaur and Brother Bear are like your Atlantis, Home on the Range, Chicken Little might be after this. Yeah, this was the last 2D animation. This is the last movie they made mostly at the Orlando Animation Center before they just shut it down.
Interesting. I did
So
not know that.
this was like one of their last 2Ds.
Oh.
Yeah, we saw this in the theater. It was fine. I think mostly we came out of it being like, well, this was kind of not Lion King. Is like this was kind of Beauty and the Beast, but not as good. And like
Beauty and the Lion Beast.
Like I kind of just want to watch Pocahontas again if it's just going to be in these like North American forests.
Yeah.
Yeah, but rewatch was different.
Yeah.
I'm seeing more care was put into this movie than I had originally thought. What about you, Dick?
My first time seeing it was 3 nights ago.
Uh-huh.
I knew the song. I knew one of the Phil Collins songs from this. Probably just from seeing previews for Brother Bear a lot. But maybe it was on the radio. I don't know.
I got some news for you. The song you're probably thinking of, is it like the Welcome to the Family one?
Probably, yeah.
It started a Disney parade or light show at some point, like a parks.
Okay,
it was
so
like the theme of something in the parks for a while.
We do watch too many Disney parades for our own good, so that could also be.
So you might know it from that.
Probably not, but it could be.
Anyway.
This movie had highs and lows for me. It was a roller coaster between hate and love. There was not really a point in the movie where I'm like, oh, this is fine. Each scene was like I feel like each scene was kind of a dramatic shift where I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. What's going on here? Yeah, I feel like it's almost really competently put together, but I mean, I'm going to talk about that, of course, but I will say that, like, I walk away from this with, like, 3 or 4 characters that I legitimately like.
The characters in this movie are strong.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for the cookie timer now? All right. 2 minutes.
Wait.
Oh.
If you want to jump in as I'm talking and just say character names.
Sure.
If you remember them, because I don't remember any of them.
One.
Is it?
Good luck, everyone.
Okay, here we go.
Go.
Okay, so we open with our hero who is like Inuit, but it's like 2,000 years ago or something. They're riding mammoths, so it's forever ago, and he's getting his totem because that's a rite of passage. You know, you get your animal totem. You follow that on a journey and you become a man. He gets a bear, and it's the bear of love, and he's like, wow, that's stupid. His brother, our main character, is like heading out into the woods. His brother like gets killed by a bear, and he goes to avenge it. And then he like almost gets killed by the bear, and then he gets turned into a bear. And that's where the story really begins. I'm sorry for wasting 45 seconds on that intro and 5 seconds on this apology. So, our hero bear meets some mooses who are great, and meets a little bear named Coda. And they go on a journey to the Salmon Run, because the Salmon Run is where Coda wants to go, but it's also near a mountain where the northern lights meet the mountain, which is where Kenai, which is where Kenai, our hero, needs to go in order to become human again. They get to the Salmon Run, and he's like, oh, I'm going to be human again. And he's like, kind of not really. And then some hunters, one hunter in particular, who's Kenai's other brother, who's trying to kill the bear that killed Kenai.
So many.
A lot of bear revenge. That brother tries to kill Coda or something, and then Kenai stops him, and then he becomes human again. And then he's like, you know what? Coda's not got a mom, because I killed Coda's mom. I'm going to be a bear now. The end.
Burying the lead.
I forgot about it. I honestly forgot.
Cookies are done. Coda doesn't have a mom, because I killed her.
Our hero, the bear that he kills at the beginning to get revenge on his for his brother, is a mother bear.
Is the mom that Coda is looking for.
Yeah. And we don't put that together like in the movie until like they get to the Salmon Run, like an hour-ish in.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a big reveal. And
you don't get to know that unless
you
you kind of remember seeing the movie 15 years ago.
Right.
And when he says his mother isn't there, you think to yourself, oh, yeah, is that?
Yeah.
And then you forget about it because it's just engaging.
And I'll be honest, I kind of like, halfway through, I'm kind of like, oh, maybe his mother was that other bear. But then the reveal was still effective. And like you said, I forgot. I thought of it, and then I forgot, and then it happened. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. He's turned into a bear because he doesn't have respect for the nature. Like, he's turned into a bear because he kills a bear, and he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Is the deal.
Yeah. And his older brother has an animal totem that's like an eagle. And he's they have like an animal, and they have like a thing that's supposed to guide them.
Yeah.
So for the
it's
older
kind of
brother,
like a mix of Captain Planet and the Power Rangers.
A little bit. So the older brother's is guidance.
Yes.
And the younger brother's is wisdom. So the older brother, like he kind of guides the younger brother in like eagle form to like, he kind of guides them to their destiny. I think that works more than wisdom and love, but
well, wisdom and love they just throw out the window. Yeah, like you're not quite sure why. Like with the beast, it's really clear why he gets transformed back into a human. It's like Belle said, "I love you." Yeah. You got this mutual love going.
Like boom,
you're
we
human.
got it. And Beauty and the Beast also. There's a moment where we're like, oh, he's not turning human. That sucks. But he did the thing.
Yeah.
And then we see him turn human. Brother Bear comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, Brother Bear, I think what they want you to believe is that, like, him sacrificing himself for Coda is like, oh, you have demonstrated the bear quality of love.
But he doesn't. He doesn't ever sacrifice himself.
He kind of
helps defend Coda.
He's like running away from his hunter brother.
Yeah.
Until Coda like slips. I don't know. This is like I think I fell asleep for like 7 seconds and I missed a little bit.
I don't think you did. That's the thing.
I think like Coda ends up in like real danger because of something the hunter brother did.
Yeah.
And then like Kenai goes on the attack at that point instead of just running. So I guess it's like being able to fight for love.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets like pinned, and then all of a sudden, like the
isn't
aurora,
that what he was doing
the
at
northern
the beginning
lights.
when he killed the mother bear? He was like fighting for love.
Right? So it's like,
It's a really the ending
but
of this
he didn't
movie
need
does
to.
not.
He didn't need
work.
to kill the bear. The bear the bear and the older brother both fall off that iceberg cliff.
Oh yeah, he didn't.
The brother
kill,
dies
yeah.
immediately. The bear swims to safety.
Yeah.
The bear's no longer attacking them. He goes extra.
So is this like stand your ground laws are okay? Is that the metaphor?
No, I think it's the opposite, right? It's the
No, like if the bear's attacking you, you can kill it, but if it's not attacking you,
but if you're
can't.
hunting it. So Kenai is the George Zimmerman.
But you can hunt it, but you can't hunt it out of rage. You
Yeah.
can't be angry at the bear while you're hunting
It has to be an immediate. This gets real tricky real fast.
Because, like, legitimately, these characters are wearing fur
Yes.
that they must have gotten from somewhere.
Yeah.
Bears have a lot of fur.
And like hunters are a known entity in this world. Like
Yeah.
the moose are.
Like, bears
Scared of
have
hunters and-
skin. They have, like,
Yeah.
I assume you use bear hide for, like, something. Or bear meat. Like, it's just, it's
yeah.
weird. Like, he kills this bear, and it's like, this is terrible. And it's like, yeah,
There's
but
not
like,
a purpose to it, I guess.
yeah, it's a very convoluted, it's a very confused message.
Yeah.
The movie, I think, is trying to say several things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really nail any of them.
No. But that Coda bear is super cute.
Oh, absolutely. There are some great characters.
There are.
But Kate,
Before we get into those characters,
before we get into those characters,
go to another set of characters.
What?
Over in Scotland.
Are you kidding me?
Not kidding.
We're going to Shrek again?
Oh my gosh. No.
I do want to say, though, Brave took me like 5 minutes to stop seeing Shrek. Because
because of the accents.
They're talking with the accents, and they're wearing like kind of villager clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, it's villagers in Shrek, but like animated well. It took a little bit for me to get over that. It really did. Sorry, go on.
Dick, what's your experience with the movie Brave?
I saw it once on a plane.
All right.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
International travel is great for seeing movies.
Oh my God, yeah.
You like keep forgetting you need to see.
Yeah.
The
wonderful.
reason we're doing this episode now is because we were sitting together.
We were sitting together on a flight, and we were like, "Oh, could we watch a
Something
movie
for the podcast?" Like, yeah.
And Brave was on there. I was like, "Cool, I haven't seen that. Let's go."
Yeah. And we're like, oh, I guess we'll do Brave next.
And very happy about that decision.
Mm-hmm.
I will at some point rewatch it on the big screen because I am confident that I missed some dialogue, that I missed some elements because it's like a tiny, crappy screen.
I'm here to tell you, Dick, that you can still get a lot out of the movie on a tiny screen because I have seen Brave twice, both on a plane. I've exclusively seen Brave on an airplane. And I've loved it both times. So I'm going to challenge that. I'm sure it would be great on a big screen.
Maybe I shouldn't watch it on a big screen. Maybe that would ruin it.
I feel like some of the best movies I've seen are on airplanes. And maybe it's a Stockholm Syndrome situation where like I could be doing this or like tweaking my neck, falling asleep.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'm also always like too tired and overly emotional on a plane.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that helps.
no, like Lego movie I saw on
my
a plane.
God.
I laughed out loud. I cried.
Yeah.
Shazam I saw on the other way back from the set of flights.
Yeah.
I laughed. I cried.
I saw
So,
Black Panther.
yeah,
on the
same,
plane.
same.
That was awesome.
I laughed. I cried. Yeah. So just plain. I mean, so what that tells me is every movie you can see on a plane is great. The end.
Okay. I'm going to challenge
We'll leave
you.
out Zoolander 2.
On our next flight, I'm going to pick your movie and we'll
Zoolander
we'll
2
test
is
this
actually
theory.
a good plane movie because you don't really need to pay attention.
That's a perfect plane movie. Yeah, get like a couple of those mini whiskeys and you're good to go. Yeah. So, Kate,
right.
why don't you set yourself a cookie timer?
I'm going to set myself a cookie
Tell
timer.
us a little bit about this movie. I want to hear you talk about Brave.
That's a cute Bareilles reference.
Thank you.
Kind of. All right.
Thank you.
Here I go.
Thank you.
We're in Scotland. A long time ago, there's this clan of mostly gingers, including Merida, the daughter. She's really good at archery. She loves being outside, but that's not what princesses do. She's got to like marry someone from a different clan so that their clan can continue being. So her mom is trying to like train her in all sorts of traditional princessy things, embroidery and things like that. But Merida's like, nah. So it comes time, but like mom gets like real pissed, like especially when it comes time to like choosing a suitor and all these clans come, and she's like, no, I'm actually going to join this Olympic style competition for my hand, and if I win, I don't have to marry any of you. And her mom is not pleased about that. They have a big fight, and then Merida goes off into the woods, and she's like, I need my mom to understand. She finds a witch. The witch bakes her a scone, kind of like a pie, and she's like, great, feed this to your mother. She'll understand. She feeds it to her mother. Oops, her mother turns into a bear. She'll change. Well, right. Her mother turns into a bear. Whoops, that was not the intent, but here we are. So then, and her dad, like, his big thing in life is that a bear ate his leg, so he, like, when he sees that bear again, he's going to kill it. Anyway, so Merida and her bear mom go out into the woods to try to find the witch again to reverse the curse. They wish to have the curse reversed, and they like get to know each other better as mother and daughter, which is kind of weird because the mom is just a bear and she can't use words like humans. But they both learn to like listen to each other more and let each person be who they are. They find the bear from like 100,000 years ago, I don't know, who like got angry and turned into a bear. They kill that bear, and then they really love each other. So they repair it, they mend the tear. She gets into a queen, and then the princess gets to do whatever she wants. She doesn't have to marry a person. There's a lot of plot in that movie. Yeah. I feel like I did a good job.
You got it, but
I also left things out.
Barely. Also, you could have said repair the bear tear.
Repair the bear tear.
Which would have been more fun. Yeah, like there's a lot of plot in that movie. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of things where I was like, oh, Kate didn't mention. Oh, she got there.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a lot to it. There's a big world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of story to that
when
world.
Really what happens, and this is what Pixar is great at, what happens is a mother and daughter learn to listen to each other.
Yeah. And like
the end.
Like the really easy summary. Mm-hmm. Mom and daughter get into a fight. Mom turns into a bear. Mom and daughter make up. Mom turns into a human. Like,
yeah.
Kind of. It's not, like, the fundamental story is not crazy difficult.
No.
But there is so much world in the story that it just, like, those are, like, details you don't want to leave out. But,
right.
like, the important part is, like, that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
and
dope.
I think, to me, that is, like, where this movie wins over. And I understand that that's, like... So, I've mentioned this on this podcast before. I have trouble with, like, your traditional giant world, like, sci-fi and or fantasy stories.
Sure.
Like, I get lost real easily. I get the message that it's really important for me to know all of these names and all of the special things that elves and orcs and hobbits are known for. And, like, really at the core of it is, like, this friendship, and there's a thing that twists one's wants, and they need to get rid of it. Like, but yeah, for some reason...
You get fixated on the detail.
Yeah, in Brave, like, I know what's important. I know what's, like, just world. And maybe it's because it's, an hour and a half. I know that I'm not 9 hours committed, right? Like...
You do. I have noticed watching things with you when you're like, oh, this is like a series of things. I need to pay a super hard attention to this first one and remember everything, or else, like, I'll be lost going forward. And, like, sometimes that's the case, like watching Lost or something, right? Like, yeah. But, like, when we watch, like, Over the Garden Wall, you're like, I understand this, and I'm figuring out the mystery. And I'm like, no, don't figure out the mystery. Just enjoy
this
it.
World.
But yeah, Brave does a good job of just being like, here are the important things because we say them twice. You know it's important because we say it twice. Mm-hmm. Like, every time they highlight.
appearance of this, like that. So like the big scary bear is like one of the least important, like intrinsically important parts of the movie.
Yeah,
it's
he's
like
just
why there are bear curses, kind of, but like otherwise it's just kind of a parable for like he split from his family, didn't respect those ties, so he got turned into a bear. But even something like that, like it's alluded to, like mom tells her a story about 4 brothers in the beginning, and then you meet that bear early on into their bear and daughter journey.
I was like, remember
and then
that
you meet
story
him a third
I told
time.
you? Yeah.
Yeah. A third time, and then he's vanquished.
And it's very successful storytelling, and it's very, like, I love the world of Brave. I don't remember if there's a Brave sequel. If there is, I assume it's not great, but I would watch it just to be in that world more.
There is not currently.
Okay.
There had been rumors about it. What I don't think there should be one, because
I don't think there should be one.
The top billing director on this one goes to Mark Andrews or Mark Andrew. It's really, and then the second listed director is Brenda Chapman.
What, Kate, who's Brenda Chapman?
Who isn't Brenda Chapman?
Right.
Brenda Chapman started this film. Like, this film is her baby. Like, she wanted to do it.
By the way, did you know the name Brenda Chapman like a month ago?
I did, but I didn't know exactly how important she was.
Okay, well, thanks for ruining my point. But my point is,
Yes.
like you know Brad Bird, you know, John Lasseter, you know, like all these guys. Brenda Chapman, I feel like, is never mentioned.
Under the radar, yeah.
And she's like, go ahead.
Yeah, so she comes into the scene as basically being like story supervisor for all the good Renaissance movies, like certainly the first 4.
Yeah.
I think she's top supervisor on Lion King stuff, and like Beauty and the Beast is where they kind of brought her in to like fix things. She spends like a hot second at DreamWorks and mic drops Prince of Egypt in her directorial debut.
Yeah, she directs Prince of Egypt.
She does like a little bit of story animation for a few others. She gets special thanks on Shrek, which is fine. and then she goes to Pixar, works as like she's on the top creative team for like the string of Pixar's. She directs Brave. She gets thrown off Brave because of creative differences with John Lasseter. And that's interesting because
John Lasseter famously works well with women.
Works well with everyone and is still at the
that John Lasseter.
I feel like Brenda Chapman is very kind in the interviews that I have seen of like, hey, why did you have to leave this project? And like, I feel like I don't know when the years are of like the 3 different interviews I've sampled, but I feel like she basically is like, well, there were creative differences, and also it like wasn't an environment where I felt as comfortable. Like,
that's a really
it's basically like,
way.
Well, John Lasseter didn't trust my ideas because I'm a girl. Neat.
Do we know what she's doing now?
So she started her own production company with her husband.
Great.
And their movie called Come Away, that like she's been kind of like talking about in interviews for like 5 years. It's in post-production according to Wikipedia. I don't know what their distribution is, but like...
Do we know that if it's animated? I assume it's
animated. Yeah,
great.
It's animated.
So we'll be excited for that.
Yeah, but everything I've ever seen that Brenda Chapman had a strong hand in is excellent.
Yeah, she pulls together a story in a really, really beautiful, satisfying way.
And you can tell, we were talking about how like the dialogue in this movie, like I can tell when there was a female at the lead.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where the mom and the daughter are having an argument, but they're not in the same scene, right? Like they're both having an argument to themselves of like, oh, this is what the other one would say, so this is how I would respond. But it's cutting back and forth between them, and they're dead on what the other one's gonna say. And it's just like, I feel like that's something that I don't know for certain that Brenda Chapman contributed, but it feels
and
really strong because it's something that I do. Like, I mean, we all have like arguments in our head, but like that kind of like intensity of it, but also the intuitiveness of knowing what your mom is going to say, knowing what your daughter is going to say is like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and I have a terrible memory often, so I forgot who even worked on this movie. And like about midway through, I think we had to pause because there was like a captain's announcement or something because we were on a plane. And I looked at you and I go, so is there like a female writer on this? This is I feel like really like true to form. Like I mean I assume, like I don't know the experience, but I'm like I feel like
these female characters seem to be
written by
characters.
a woman. And you're like, Brenda Chapman is on this. I'm like, got it. Okay.
And there were, I can't remember specifics, but there were other scenes where you're like, oh yeah, I could tell that sometimes there was and sometimes there wasn't a female in the room. Because
I will say, there's some scenes where I'm like, oh, this is a joke by men. Nothing wrong with that, but I can tell, like, you can kind of tell. But also this movie, Brave is, I really, really like Brave. It's a little uneven and it's a little heavy-handed in some parts.
Yes.
And I feel like, I don't know, but I feel like, oh, Brenda left and
they needed to
they didn't know how to
ends.
do this or something.
Yeah.
So there's some moments that I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, like I see what you're doing. It's efficient.
It's like, no, I get it. We can move on. But honestly, Brave was a real surprise to me. As a movie I hadn't seen, heard was good, and I was like laughing out loud in the first couple minutes. And I was paying attention to. I was like I was into the movie the entire time.
Yeah.
So.
And it's the relationship, right? We say it's a really simple through line.
Yeah.
And Brother Bear is a less simpler through line, but the relationship at the center of it is at its best just as like simple and forthright, I feel. The relationship between Kenai as a bear, as like a grown-up bear, and Coda, the bear cub.
Yeah, so Kenai finds this bear cub, or rather the bear cub, Coda, finds Kenai in like a trap. And he's like, cool, I can rescue you from that trap, but you have to take me to this salmon run. Is sort of how it goes. And that is the beginning of their relationship. We're 20, 30 minutes into the movie?
Yeah.
We're pretty far into the movie, but this is where it's the Simba and Pumbaa moment, right? Like, this is that same kind of point in the movie.
Yeah,
like,
where
kind of later in the
hands.
movie,
yeah.
he meets a new friend, and that friend journeys with us. And that relationship is great most of the way through. Like, there's some moments where it fluctuates in success and failure as a movie relationship, but that is the relationship that I feel strongly about in this movie. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's, Coda's fending for himself, right? He's lost his mom, but he doesn't know that she's been killed. He's just trying to find her, and like he's got this kind of boundless optimism. He has like a kid's perspective of the world, which like is goofy and fun, and also like when he's in that trap, when Kenai is in that trap, and he's like, no, I can do it myself, and Coda's like, all right, well, I could help you, and Kenai's like, no, I can figure this out.
Yeah.
And Coda just like talks his ear off as he's trying thing after thing, and then like finally he gives up, and Coda just like goes over, unties the rope from the tree, like it's done. Like, no, this is the simplest way to do it.
Coda is a scrappy, annoying kid, in like a wonderful way.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's Simba.
He is so Simba. Even like they must have used animation models.
Yeah, like his animation is similar to Simba. His attitude is similar to Simba. Like they said, give us. I feel like it was like, hey, can we get another Simba for this movie? And they did. And like, I don't like it's it seems kind of like a redundancy or whatever, but he's great, so
but
I don't care.
The character is distinct enough, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have that cockiness of like, I'm going to be king someday.
Yeah.
He's just a bear off the street.
He's just yeah, and he's lovely.
Yeah.
He's he's kind of got a swagger, but not like a Simba swagger.
Uh-huh.
He's got like a little bit of like a I know everything. You know, I'm like a tough kid bear. I'm surviving on my own. I'm just gonna go find my mom. No big deal. But he's also like a complete coward. So that's always fun. Like your brave, your cocky character who gets brought down. And he's really sweet. And I think that's a thing that really that really makes this movie succeed for me, is that Coda could just be this kind of brash, annoying character, which at first I did not like Coda. So I was like, oh, this is annoying. Cool. But then he reveals some sweetness, and you've got that through the rest of the movie, and you care about this little baby bear.
Yeah.
Also, the actor who plays him is adorable, too.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I mean, like, he's our age, so he's less adorable now.
He might still be adorable.
But when he was...
when he was a kid.
Very, very adorable. Yeah, and I feel like I feel like both of these movies, right, have the pair kind of journeying together. The younger of the pair is more traditionally empathetic of the two, but the other one, the one who gets turned into a bear, who like you could be like really mad at and annoyed at, but there's enough empathy and there's enough care given to these characters that you are invested in seeing them get their goal, right? Like you don't just want like, well, Coda, Kenai is a jerk, just leave him. Like you want them to stay together. You want both of them to achieve their goals, and both of these movies do it well.
And maybe it's my age, but in Brave, when the big fight happens, because it's Merida doesn't want to get married, and Mom's like, no, you need to do this for the kingdom. This is how it goes. I'm on Mom's side.
She's not painted as a villain.
Yeah, I see both of their points. I see where Merida's coming from. I see where Mom's coming from. And I'm like, yeah, Mom's probably right on this one, Merida. And that's interesting to me, because I feel like in most of the time when there's like a parent-child fight in a movie, you know that you're supposed to be on the child's side, right? But it's like I was absolutely on Mom's side. I'm like, no, it's probably something to do with uniting the clans. We probably need to talk more about this. You probably need an explanation of what's going on. But this is kind of the deal. And with Brother Bear, not so much, because our hero is kind of a jerk.
Well, he's impulsive and doesn't like rejecting. I think what he's supposed to learn, more so than like love is your guiding force, is like not rejecting, like working with your circumstances as opposed to rejecting them. Right? Like, well, I'm a bear. I don't want to be a bear. I want to be I don't know what he wanted to be. A mammoth? I don't know.
He didn't want to be the bear of love.
He didn't want to be the bear of love.
Like, strength.
This is stupid. And so he overcompensates by going after that bear in the first place, that his older brother has to like pick up the pieces and ends up dying in the process. Like he's more or less responsible for the chain of events. Yeah. So and I feel like, having to navigate this journey as a bear where he like doesn't know how to be a bear.
It's tough to be a bear.
It's tough to. Maybe that's what the show should be, inside the Tree of Life. He learns to kind of sit in his circumstances. I feel like the scene where they get to Salmon Run and they like make friends with all the other bears. He learns how to catch a fish or eat a fish and that's like bears. You shouldn't kill bears. Fish, It's okay. Like
that's
an
another
uneven
moment where it's
logic.
like fish don't have minds or souls. Bears talk to each other and go on vacation.
But maybe again, it's a necessity versus something that's superfluous.
Need versus greed.
Yeah,
Right?
there you go.
But it's a weird, like it's just one of those things. It's
Yeah, but yeah,
it's a Zootopia. That's what I was gonna say. It's a Zootopia. It's a weird situation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what are you trying to say? What are you really trying to say here?
Yeah, and they learn from each other in both movies, which I also appreciate. Like Braves is a little bit more clearer. It's listen, right? And it comes up in her trying to tell her dad that like, no, this bear running through your castle, it's your wife.
Yeah.
Just listen to me instead of responding.
And with Brave, that's the message for both Merida and her mom,
Yes.
who are like our two leads.
Yeah.
Both of them are learning the same lesson, and I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, whereas with Coda and Kanai, I don't know that Coda like, I guess like grows up a little bit because he realizes his mom is dead.
It's kind of a coming of age story for Coda.
A little bit, yeah.
And for Kanai, he's learning
To be a
something.
bear and be respectful
Yeah.
of the way things are.
Both of these movies also feature characters rejecting tradition. Brave, she's rejecting the tradition of marriage, and like Princess is getting married to one of three princes, not two, like in the Spin Doctors song. And Brother Bear, he's rejecting this like spiritual journey. How much do you think that's really reflected, or are those traditions just sort of, this is like the MacGuffin, this is the catalyst, and we don't worry about that?
So it's interesting because after watching, Brother Bear, he is purportedly Inuit, but like Inuit from 20,000 years ago.
Yeah, like
so they kind of are like, well, there was just
narrator,
magic back then. It's like kind of a fantastical version of like the Inuit tribe.
Right.
And I looked up after this movie. I'm like, here we go again, Disney. Like, I looked up like what is the response from indigenous people to this movie, and there's nothing.
Right.
So it could have been just like no one saw the movie, which is true. But I think putting it in the fantastical realm is kind of a like, okay, I guess we could like.
Yeah, it's weird because I believe our narrator is credited as Inuit narrator.
Yes, and the actor is.
Which puts it like, which I assume means all our characters are Inuit, which means like we are putting a stamp on this. Unlike, like Agrabah is like, somewhere.
Yeah.
You know where.
Right.
You know the general area over there.
Yeah.
But by saying like these are Inuit, that's like that's specific people.
Putting it in a specific place, yeah.
Right? Like they're not giving it a time. It's not like Pocahontas where it's like it is this historical event.
1607.
Yeah. But it's like it's somewhere between those two. So I find it interesting that they're like, because they could have just said like some caveman. And we would have been like, fine.
Just like the ancient tribe of made-upness, right? Which is essentially what they did. But yeah, it's interesting.
That like they have an Inuit narrator who is Inuit, and they have like some, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
And Brave takes place in Scotland, and these are all fictional clans.
Disney did something interesting with this clan. Can you elaborate?
So at the end of the movie, when the mom turns back into a human and they decide, you know what, we'll just like kind of all combine clans and we don't have to worry about the marriage thing. Everyone can marry who they want. Disney created a tartan, which for the 4-clan like conglomeration. Can you explain tartan?
Yeah, a tartan is just like a cloth pattern. You'll see it on kilts or like sashes, hats. But if you see a kilt and it's got like green and red stripes on black. That is represent. I don't know my clans. I'm not Scottish. It's not part of my history. But I wore a kilt for a while in the Renaissance Festival that I worked. So, but yeah, each of these tartans has a specific design that represents a different clan or family. It's almost like a flag, right? It's like, hey, this is, or like a coat of arms. It's like this represents this family.
So Disney created one, and it has like, they have very specific meaning in like the colors they chose and the way they arranged the patterns. And they registered it with like the National Scottish, I'd have to look up the official name, but like the National Scottish Registry of Tartans, and like had a ceremony in Edinburgh. And like pissed off a parliament member who's like, we shouldn't be giving out official tartans for this kind of thing.
Corporations.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So, you know, even if Brother Bear didn't get people upset, at least Pixar carried on the tradition of upsetting people in
I want to say, like,
other cultures.
I stand with that. I'm like, no, we shouldn't let Disney make tartans for Brave. But in what, 1942?
Yeah, this is not the first tartan they've registered with Scotland. 1942, they created a tartan for Clan McDuck.
Okay, cool. Scrooge has an official tartan?
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm okay with that. Don't ask me to explain the difference. I don't think there is one, but Scrooge is better.
So both of these movies are taking place in environments that the directors don't have firsthand, like, ancestral knowledge in. However, they're well researched, as Disney and Pixar are known to do. And the fact that they placed them so long ago and include like a legitimate magical element in both is a template. Maybe there's some more things they could do, but it's a template for like, how do we put things in other countries without making everyone upset? And I don't mean that in like a culture is too PC, we're making everyone upset. Like, how do we authentically
how do we tell this story without
appropriating and I'll say like yes, and it's doing the magic thing too much is kind of like I always felt like Pocahontas was kind of guilty of just being like, oh no, the Native Americans were like magicians, and like they believed in all this goofy magic, and like they thought they talked to trees, and like there's a little bit of like weirdness in that for me. And I think the same like goes with like any like, oh, it's an ancient tribe, they have a magic, and it's like, well, no, I get where we're going here, but I do think it works in these cases for sure. So I don't know. Yeah. So speaking of magic, there are transformations in both these movies.
What?
Two characters get transformed into bears.
That's incorrect.
Did you know that going in?
That's incorrect.
For 5 characters.
5 characters get transformed into bears. Technically 6, but 5 characters that we meet as humans get turned into bears.
Oh, that's true. That's true. 6. 2 main characters get transformed into bears. So I want to talk a little bit about how each movie does this, because there are some similarities. There is a Venn diagram, as oft there is in these conversations we have on this podcast. So in Brave, when Mom turns into a bear, she is a bear. She's not a talking bear. She's not Mufasa, right?
No,
like
she's a bear.
She just growls and makes bear sounds.
She is a human in a bear's body.
Yes,
she makes
for sure.
She can't talk. She can kind of motion. She can't like use her hands because she
keeps
claws.
Trying to walk on 2 feet and like can't.
Yeah.
Like is really bad at it because she's a bear.
Yeah, and sometimes she even just reverts. She just goes like full bear.
Well, so that's a feature that this movie has. So let's put a pin in that.
Boop. Pin.
So in this movie, when characters turn into bears, the bears, you have to rely on nonverbal. They're just bears.
No.
in Brother Bear, he turns into a bear.
Yeah.
And he, like, to the human characters, he's Growly McGrowlerson.
Yeah. For the human characters, it's the same.
Yes.
It's the same as Brave for the human characters. They still see a bear that is growling and doing bear things.
Yes. But for the audience perspective, it shifts. So when you are looking at the story from the point of view of the animals can all talk to each other. Like, that's actually how Kenai starts as a bear. Is like a chipmunk talks at him, and he's like, "What did you just like? You just talked?"
It's like, "What are you talking to me for? You're a chipmunk."
Yeah.
What?
And I think it's a neat device because you then get to see, like, you know, Kenai, when he meets his human brother, is like, hi, it's me. Don't, and all you're hearing is rah, rah, or no, all the
and
human
you see
is
him
hearing.
advancing. It's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a neat device. I'm glad that they showed the other side of it. It's not just like, well, animals can talk, and that there's like two points of view, and it fits with its. I think one theme that they don't do a great job of like hitting home, like, and completely like knocking out of the park, is this idea of like, well, okay, yeah, that's true. I don't know why.
Would you say they strike out?
Is this idea of, and it's an interesting thread, and then they lose it. This idea when Kenai is in the salmon run with the other bears, he's basically realizes like, oh well, he's telling Coda a separate story, and saying, when I was a human, like I went after this. My brother was killed by a monster, because he doesn't want to say.
He doesn't want to say he was killed by a bear.
And so Kenai realizes that he's been seeing bears as only violent, only out to kill him, instead of like, this could be a mother bear or a brother bear. And he gets this perspective listening to all these stories of the bears in the salmon run, that like, oh, these are just bears looking to have good lives with their families. Yeah. And I feel like there's an element of like, perhaps like a commentary on race relations, or just, you know, they're different than us, which means they can't be trusted. Yeah. Kind of thing, which is neat. They don't follow through with it necessarily. Yeah. But I do think that this like point of view shift, the growling versus the talking, reinforces that on one side it looks like this, but really it's this. Yeah. But because Pixar is just generally better at storytelling than anyone else, they're able to do it with just growls. Well, like, and that's the nonverbal is so good.
And that's two different styles of storytelling, and you know, you can't super judge one over the other, just as a style. I think Brave's nonverbal storytelling is amazing. I think we get some great like emotion out of Mom. As a bear mom. But I will say, like, the talking in, like the conversations in Brother Bear do really lead to some emotional moments that we don't get as much with Brave, because Mom's communication skill is not, like, Mom doesn't really get to tell her side of the story. She doesn't really get to talk. We don't really get to hear from her. We just kind of see. But Brother Bear, really, we get some really nice emotional moments, like the one you just mentioned.
Yeah. No. And yeah, I get it is a function. You're still hearing, you know, English from Merida at that point. Like, you're still hearing human voices, so it's not like
the whole time.
It's not a Wall-E situation.
And she's kind of giving the audience hints. She's like, "Oh, Mom, do you mean this, or is this what you're doing?" Right? Like, there's a little bit of that, like, audience, in case you're not getting the visual cue, Merida's gonna like ask the question for you.
But also,
which is great writing, which is super helpful.
Just as the fact that like Kenai is being introduced to like the fact that these animals have a whole world and communication between them, and that supports a message of Brother Bear. This idea that we don't speak the same language anymore, but we still have to figure out what the other means to survive, supports the Brave message of listening. And, you know, in this case, using all the senses and the verbal and the nonverbal cues as well, but it's, listening in a broader sense of really finding meaning instead of just hearing the words and reacting to them.
Yeah. And it really is interesting that the dominant character, who's the mom, who's like normally in charge, and Merida has to listen to her, is now no longer able to talk. So she has to just listen to her daughter. And that's a really interesting thing, because at first Merida's like, cool, I get to tell you all my stuff. And then like, it's kind of like, it kind of flips on itself a little bit and is like, oh no, I need mom's voice right now.
And
like there are times where we need mom's voice and it's not there.
And taking out that pin that we put in earlier,
Whip.
There is an extra layer in Brave that I feel like this, to me, is the strongest indication of Brenda Chapman was there and then she wasn't there. That early on, like a little bit into mom being a bear, like figuring out the basics of how they're going to navigate moving forward. Yeah. Mom is sort of like fishing for salmon and then like leaves the river and just starts walking away. Yeah. And Merida's like, where are you going, Mom? Up until this point, Mom has been able to understand her English more or less, we think.
Yeah.
And she's just not responding. She turns around and she, like, the eyes are different. The eyes are like black instead of a little bit of
so a little
iris.
bit pupilled.
Or pupil. Eye white. Eye white. Yeah. And she's just gone bear. Like, she's not mother bear. She's just bear.
She's a feral bear.
She's a feral bear. And then she, like, snaps out of it. Like,
and that happens, like, once or twice in the movie. Yeah. And it's very frightening and very effective. Yeah.
And then it doesn't really go anywhere.
Not super much.
Because, like, she might be feral bear when she fights that Morador bear at the end.
Marduk.
Mordu. Okay.
Mordu.
Okay. She might be feral bear, but she also just might be mama bear in a literal use of the word of the phrase mama bear.
Yeah. So there's some things that don't.
So I feel like Brenda Chapman knew where that was going, and then she left, and then they're like, "Well, let's forget this ever happened." Yeah. But we've already made the footage.
Kate, I want to bring up a comparison that does not involve Brave. And just involves Brother Bear and another movie that we've watched for this podcast.
Okay.
That movie's called The Good Dinosaur.
Oh, no.
We watched The Good Dinosaur.
Yeah.
And if you want, go listen to the episode. It's a fun episode.
Dino 4.
We watched
1, 2, 3, 4.
4 different dinosaur movies. But one of them is The Good Dinosaur, which is basically Pixar's worst movie.
It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
We'll work on that. But can you still say that after The Reef?
See, one of the worst movies that had the resources to be better.
Fair. One of the worst well-funded movies.
It like had to try to be that bad.
So Good Dinosaur, it's not great.
No.
But there are some moments that are successful. Yeah. So one of the moments that's successful in The Good Dinosaur, and we talk about this, is they're like the dinosaurs leave their mark on a wall. They leave like their handprint on a wall when they've achieved something.
Dinosaur paw print.
Our hero wants to put his handprint or paw print or whatever on the wall. There's a scene where the dinosaur and the human are communicating, and they draw like a circle around each other to show that they're kind of a family.
Right.
There's a scene where the dinosaur falls in the water and it's unclear whether he could swim or not. And all of this happens in Brother Bear.
Stolen straight out of Brother Bear.
Like these stories, the only spooky. Really good storytelling elements in Good Dinosaur are from Brother Bear.
It like, we laughed out loud, especially the paw print and the circle. Like, the swimming thing is kind of like our personal joke.
That's our personal
joke. Can dinosaurs swim? But yeah, the in Brother Bear, there's a similar thing with the human tribe.
Putting their
there's a cave, putting a handprint on the wall, and
that's what our hero wants to achieve.
Right.
And then there's a bit
it's more of a throwaway moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a I feel like it's a montage sequence where, you know, Coda and Kenai are like figuring out how to live together.
It's a great moment, though.
Kenai draws a line with a stick between them in the dirt, and Coda just prances over, like, to sleep. And Coda just prances over, snuggles in with him, takes the stick, draws a circle around both of them.
Yeah. and like, did the makers of Good Dinosaur see Brother Bear?
Almost definitely yes.
Yes, they did. So were these moments taken from it? Maybe. Maybe not. Putting like handprints on a wall is not a unique thing to Brother Bear. Drawing a circle around people is not a unique thing to Brother Bear. But having those both as big moments in your movie, that's just interesting.
I'm very glad that you brought that up.
Thank you. I am too.
Yeah. So, I know there's one more thing that you want to talk about.
Uh-oh.
And it's the use of music in these movies. Brave has a lot of traditional, like, Scottish sounding. Like, I haven't done, like, any research on the music in this movie.
It's gorgeous Celtic music. They bring in a variety. Like, I forget who. Someone does the score, but they bring in a variety of artists to do different things. And, like, I will say, by the way, if you are a nerdy role-playing game person like me, Nobuo Uematsu, who did the music for the Final Fantasy series, at like Final Fantasy IV, he heard Celtic music, and then everything he wrote was like based on that from then on. Like, it's really obvious in Chrono Cross. It's really obvious in Final Fantasy IV, especially since he then released a Celtic band version of the album.
Aww.
Like, so watching Brave, like, one, the music was great, and two, it reminded me of Final Fantasy a lot, which was also fun.
And it does the Pixar thing of characters don't sing, but there are like, is it like 2 songs where there's like a female singer and it's a little bit poppier of a song? Yeah. It kind of takes the place of like where a Randy Newman song would be.
Yeah, it's
done better. Like, it feels more.
It's in the vein. Like, it's more modern,
more woven into the tapestry, if you will, the family tapestry that has to be mended.
But yeah, it is woven in because it fits the style of the movie, which is like, it's thousands of years ago or 1,000 years ago or whatever, and also like everyone talks like people.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense in the movie. It takes me out a little bit. I think the first one was fine. The second one I was kind of like, meh. It takes me out a little bit because it's obviously a pop song playing.
Yeah.
But because it's Celtic or Celtic, because it's got that influence, it's like, okay, this is fine.
But it's like way less egregious than the Randy Newman song in Cars. That is it. Is it James Taylor that sings it?
Yeah,
that's just narrating the scene.
And the cars are sad now, and they're gonna get some gas.
The lights used to be on, but now they're off. Click. Like, but don't worry if you're missing that kind of song. Dick, where else could you find?
Why you could find that in Brother Bear with music written by one Philip Collins.
Oh no,
it is awful.
The first song is sung by Tina Turner,
Tina Turner.
It's weird hearing Tina Turner. So Phil Collins wrote this music, and then they like told him, "Oh, by the way, you're not going to be singing some of it." He was pissed, apparently.
He sings much of it.
He's like, I write my music for my voice. Yeah. Like, I think there's a little bit of like, well, why wouldn't I sing it? And also probably a little bit of, well, if I had known that Tina Turner was going to sing it, maybe I would have written for her.
Turner.
She sounds fine.
Yeah.
She sounds good, but like, we looked at each other and we're like, this kind of sounds like a Phil Collins song. And then we looked it up. Oh, it is a Phil Collins song.
But it also kind of sounds like Tina Turner. Kate, can you figure out what's going on here?
So anyway, that song is fine.
Yeah.
But every other...
And that song's during like the opening...
Your world building, you're not like...
No big deal.
Yeah.
Fine.
But
then they Shrek us.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. It's like real bad narration. And there's probably a chicken and the egg, right? Like, maybe the scenes were fully made and Phil Collins wrote the lyrics, but I bet it's like Phil Collins wrote some lyrics, then they're like, oh, you mentioned sparkling stream. We're
So
going to
let's
make the
show a
stream
stream.
sparkle at this moment.
Now,
the wind in our hair and the wind hits it right that moment.
It's obnoxious.
Yeah.
But I want to posit this question to you. In Pocahontas, in Colors of the Wind, she says, colors of the wind, you see literal colors of the wind.
Yeah.
She says, how high does the sycamore grow? There's a sycamore there. What is different about the way Pocahontas does this with the way Brother Bear does this?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I think, one, it's everyone involved is used to working in musical theater at this point,
Sure.
right? Like even the animators.
Yeah.
They've done 4 movies that are musical theater, like straight up musical theater at this
Right.
point. They know how it works. So I think there's a little bit of like just artistic skill involved. I think it makes a difference that the character is singing it
I
as
would
opposed to it
agree with
literally
that,
being
yes.
narrated. And I think just the language of Colors of the Wind, even though it's specific, it feels a little bit more abstract than like
It's a little more metaphorical.
than the things that are being animated in the Phil Collins
like,
song.
I'm having fun with all my bear friends.
Yeah.
We're going to get some salmon today.
Yeah, it's like weirdly specific in a way that just like this. You mentioned earlier that these scenes in this movie are either like really great or
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
And this is one where I was just waiting for the songs to be over.
Yeah.
It's just this is embarrassing for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
I did like the trick in the one song. I don't think they did it as best they could.
Ooh, tell me.
There was one song where Coda, like being his like motor mouth, just starts like singing at
Yes.
at Kenai, and then it turns into the Phil Collins song, and then the way it ends is like Phil Collins kind of drops out, and it's Coda finishing this like not quite on key.
It's like
song.
a little bit. Can you feel the love tonight?
Yeah.
It's a little bit. You Can Fly from Peter Pan, where it's like there's dialogue or there's a character singing.
Yeah.
And it goes. That was a really fun trick.
Yeah.
Like you said, could have been executed better.
And if the
Sure.
song in the middle was good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have made a little more sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's unfortunate. We'll talk more about Phil Collins in the Tarzan episode that we do.
Absolutely, we will.
Because I feel like this is not Phil Collins' strongest work. But
and
also
legit, I'm going to let the audience in on our lives a little bit. We had a hour and a half long argument about whether Phil Collins was good or not last night.
we did. And so I found I've known you for 4 years.
Neither of us knew that either of us cared at all about
Well,
Phil Collins.
I didn't know either of us cared this much about Phil Collins,
Yeah.
to be honest. I didn't know you harbored so much just pure hate
I just
in
hate
your
Phil
heart
Collins.
for Phil Collins.
I just think he sucks.
I also never envisioned myself defending Phil Collins.
You were adamant that he's great.
Especially because, like, for more than a decade, I placed the fall of the Disney Renaissance squarely on Phil Collins' shoulders. Like, I now realize that that's not what happened. But, like, I hated Phil Collins because I'm like, you ruined my movies. Why aren't these characters singing? Why are you singing? Why isn't Tarzan singing?
Yeah.
I hated him, but those songs I really, really enjoy in Tarzan.
No, you do. That's okay.
And they're less specific. There's like a little bit of, but like it's not over the edge
Yeah.
in terms of the here's what's going on screen.
And one of the characters
It's more here are the emotions that are
does
going
sing
on
a
on
song.
screen.
Is that right?
Yeah, but it turns into Phil Collins.
Oh.
It's Glenn Close as a mom gorilla, and then it turns into Phil Collins.
Where's Glenn Close?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. I haven't seen Tarzan.
Who at the time I'm like, oh, Glenn Close can sing? Well, of course she can. She's already
Yeah, she is a
done the
Broadway
role of her
star.
life in Sunset Boulevard the first time.
Who knew? She's a Broadway legend.
She's fantastic.
Also, she's on some movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glenn Close. Look her up. She's great.
Look at recommendation of the day.
Yeah, recommendation, Glenn Close. There's one more thing I want to talk about. I don't know what you've got, but I want to talk a little bit about our sidekicks in this movie. I just there are a couple of minor characters in both of these movies that just right to the heart of me. Love them. In Brave, it's the three like
Oh my gosh.
terrifying. Like it's Merida's
three
brothers.
like triplet brothers who are maybe like 3 or 4.
And they are nightmares, and they're genius. They're so fun.
They're just like mischievous times a billion.
Yeah,
right. They don't really speak. They kind of like mutter.
Yeah, they kind of like mutter.
And they're always like trying to get snacks and establishing these elaborate like tying Dad's legs to the tablecloth and the chair and the. They're delightful, and then they like it's this just delightful like B plot that never. It's like the best kind of Simpsons B plot where like all of a sudden Homer shows back up doing something ridiculous, and you're like, oh yeah,
like, oh yeah, that's happening.
But it's not a whole thing. So the 3 boys, they eat the rest of this pie.
Yeah, Mom doesn't finish the transformation pie, so the boys finish it.
And then they turn into little bear cubs.
It's adorable.
And they are the same characters.
Yeah.
Just now they look like bears instead of tiny children with curly red hair.
And like the nursemaid or whatever her title is that takes care of them. They terrorize her already. When they are bears, they terrorize her even more. And they're really delightful.
They're great. And like Merida goes to them as like, okay, I need this plan. And basically, like, they need to be bribed a little bit, but basically they're like, yeah, we're in for a plan.
Yeah, we'll
like,
do that.
Very serious.
What's the thing? Yeah. And like Brave, I feel like we talked about like the heart and stuff, but like I want to talk. I would just want to talk up the comedy in this movie. There's a character who speaks like I don't know if he's speaking Celtic or if he's just
it's like Swedish chef,
just
Scottish, like
heavily accented English that no one can understand him, and it's really fun.
Yeah,
the introduction of these 3 these three princes is really funny.
Yeah.
There's I can't remember what Dad says at the beginning, but he says or does something that like in the first minute I just like laugh cried.
Isn't it that like Merida has a bird in her hand and she lets it fly and it just attacks the dad's face? Like there.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
But it's like in a montage. It's like nonverbal for like 3 seconds.
It just kind of like flies up and then beeline. This movie.
There's a lot of visual comedy that's really strong.
There's so much heart in this, but it's really funny.
Funny. It feels. I jokingly mentioned the Swedish Chef, but I feel like the visual comedy is Muppet-y.
Yeah.
A little bit. Just like it's dry. It's happening. Yeah. It's not going to explain to you the punchline. Like
just like, hey, this joke is happening.
Yeah.
Get it or don't, and we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Similarly with I almost called it Open Season. It's not called
Open Season.
It's Brother Bear.
Similar animal types.
Yeah, there are 2 moose, and they are we have Bob and Dave. That's Dave Thomas and
Rick Moranis.
Playing the same like Canadian beer brothers. I can't remember their names. Doesn't matter.
But as on what? Is it SCTV?
I think SCTV.
Yeah.
And they had a movie.
Yeah, that was neat because I'm not familiar with these characters at all. Like, I have seen a picture of them in these roles. I know.
I'm semi-familiar.
Like, they wear flannel and they've got those, like, flappy hats, right?
And they're very Canadian. Like, they're like, oh, we're going to do this thing, eh? Like, they're that kind of Canadian stereotype.
Described to me on paper, I'm like, I don't need to see that. I'm not interested in it. These moose are so great.
Yeah, they are the... there's not a ton of comedy in this movie. The mooses handle most of it, and they're awesome. Because it's 2 comic actors that work well together, who have worked well together in the past, and it's just like, cool, just bring them in.
Who are doing their characters that work well together. And like you said, it just felt like most scenes were like, oh, they just let them improv, and they just animated that. It's a Robin Williams situation. And you can see the credits have some like quote-unquote outtakes that are clearly just more of Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas
just
improvising and riffing.
It's so fun.
Yeah. And it's just, it's that like dryness that you, like, it always works well in animated movies. I don't know why more people don't do it, but you don't for whatever reason, expect it to be in an animated movie.
Yeah.
So one thing we will say, if you have an internet connection to this, we want to know about it. There is apparently on the DVD of Brother Bear, which we're not going to buy, a commentary that's just these guys, like the Moose characters commentary, like Spinal Tap style, in character of the whole movie. And we don't want to buy this DVD, but we want to see it. So if you have access to something like that,
just let us know.
Yeah.
If there's like a way that you could send it in like a rush, or like almost like a river, like a torrent of water, like towards us, maybe we could figure that out. I just wanted to get the correct thing out so people don't yell at me.
Okay.
It's Bob and Doug.
Bob and Doug
McKenzie. This is Rick Moranis, I love. His last credits as an actor, because he's retired, are Brother Bear, Sing-Alongs, Brother Bear video game, The Animated Adventures of Bob and Doug McKenzie, Brother Bear 2. And then like an episode of the Goldbergs, but it might just be a clip of Spaceballs because he's credited as Dark Helmet. This is one of the last things he did before he retired from acting.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
And also, like, I feel like the words together, Brother Bear 2, have come up in this household before, and we laugh, like, who would want to see a Brother Bear 2? But, like, I would. Now, seeing this movie again, is it the best constructed movie? No. But do I love all these characters?
Yes.
If all these characters are coming back, yeah, I want to see it again.
I love all the characters except for Kenai's stupid brothers, who are boring.
I don't think it would be about them.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But that's what I'm saying. I love the characters except for them.
Yeah. If I get more Coda and the two mooses.
Yeah, Betty Coda's great. Oh, different Coda.
Batty Coda.
Different Coda.
This is a better written character than Batty Coda by a long shot.
That doesn't say much. So, Kate, anything else you want to add before we get into the final cuts?
I'm ready for the final cut.
You're ready for the final cuts?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, it's going to be cutty.
Uh-huh.
Cool. Kate, welcome to the final cuts, a segment where we talk about stuff in a slightly more organized and specific fashion than we do normally. We start this with scene shout-outs, where we take a scene from each movie and we just say like why it was an effective scene. Kate, I'm going to have you start, but you get to pick the movie. What do you want to start with?
Brother Bear.
Okay.
I'm going to start with. One of us is going to say it anyway, so apologies if you don't have anything in the...
Nope, I was going to say it if you didn't.
Okay. So... is this scene the best version of what it could be?
No.
No. But there's a scene where it's the conversation that Kenai and Coda have, where Kenai has realized, oh, I was the one that killed Coda's mom. I have to tell him. Like, he's the whole movie. Coda's like,
oh my God,
am I your brother now? Am I your brother? And he's like, no, you're not my brother. What? No, you're not my brother. And he's like, oh, he's kind of my brother. Like, I need to tell him this. So, smart choice on the part of the directors. They don't show you the conversation bit by bit, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
What they do is it's like music over it, and so you see, Kenai deliver a part of it, like, I have some bad news. I've done something bad, and like Coda is reacting to it in real time. So you see his like confused face, and then like a no. And then intercut, you see him like do a bear circle, like a following your own tail, and like, I don't like this story.
Yeah. Oh.
And it's like, it's
heartbreaking.
Tearing up because,
so good.
Like you were saying when we were watching the movie, like that's how a kid would say it. Like kids don't say I'm anxious; they say my tummy hurts, right?
Yeah.
They don't say like, oh my gosh, I wish you hadn't killed my mother. They say I don't like this story. And it's so well animated and well paced. The problem is that instead of instrumental music over it, it's Phil Collins singing some more dumb lyrics.
Some like really lyric-y.
Like I have to do this because I love you, or like
it's a real
making
bummer.
tough choices.
It reminded me of, and I think this was my scene shout out for Prince of Egypt, or a scene that I talked about is when
Moses
Prince gets back from talking to God.
Yeah.
He has a conversation with his wife about it. We just hear music. We don't hear the conversation. There's not like I gotta talk to my wife about God.
Yeah.
Right? You just see reactions
Yeah.
because there's no way you are going to write that dialogue and not have it be hilarious.
Right.
Like you can't write that dialogue. So just put music and show the reactions.
Yeah.
And I think Brother Bear, if it wasn't lyricked music, I think that would have been like a way stronger scene. But it was a very good scene of Brother Bear. Yes.
Dick, sorry to leave you hanging with Brother Bear, although there were many good scenes in there.
I actually wrote down a scene shout out that I thought of
Whoa.
while we were talking because I said, you know what? I think Kate's going to talk about that other one. So this happens a little bit before that, but not much before. They get to the salmon run. And so far, our hero has met some moose who are like scared of him at first because he's a bear, but then they realize he's a friend bear. He meets some mammoths who just kind of don't care.
Yeah, they don't talk.
They don't seem to have souls either.
Well, they're kind of like dinosaurs, so maybe there's a cutoff.
Yeah, maybe there's a cutoff.
Like once you start going extinct, you lose your verbal
Yeah, they don't
skills.
seem to talk, so that's interesting. But we and he sees like his brother, a human, but he doesn't interact with another bear aside from like this cub until they get to the salmon run. And then when he's in the salmon run, there's a point where he's surrounded by giant bears, like larger than him, big, scary looking bears, and he is freaking out because he's scared of giant bears, not realizing that it's fine because he's also a bear and those bears are going to be cool with it and bears can talk and all of that. He goes back to his like old prejudice of like bears are angry beasts who will kill me. And I just think it's really neat watching him like have this total panic while Coda is like, hey, let's go say hi to these bears. They're going to be friends. I just think that was like an effectively done scene showing us that our character hasn't completely accepted his transformation yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Thanks.
Nice.
I was pretty proud of that.
All right.
Yep.
All right, Brave.
Let's get Brave up in here.
Let's get Brave.
Yo.
I haven't thought about this one. Uh-oh.
Ooh. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think our scene shoutouts are usually like emotional cores. But my scene shout out for Brave is going to be one of world building, because I love movies with world building. Like I will watch the first 30 to 45 minutes of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World and then turn them off. Not because the rest of the movie's not great, but I'm there for like, let's explore this new world. Let's learn new things about this land like that I want to live in. And Brave does that really well. And one of the points is where Merida is running away for the first time. And she ends up like surrounded by, what do you call it, like cairn stones? Like these giant like mystical stones.
Yeah, like Stonehenge-y.
Yeah, kind of Stonehenge-y. And then these like will-o-wisps appear, these lights.
Yeah.
And she starts following them. And like we kind of learn what will-o-wisps are, or will-o'-the-wisp. I forget what she calls them. But we kind of find out what they are, and she like follows them, and her destiny is at the other side. And in this case, it's a witch. And then we see those will-o-wisps appear again at the end, and we know when we see them, we know what it means. And like by seeing this, like kind of, and it's just like a glowy light that's just hanging
like blue
out.
Tinkerbell kind of.
It almost like if you've ever played a video game that gives you a path to follow, it's always like a series of dots, and it's almost like that. Yep. And it's this series of dots that she's just following, so that like this initial like, hey, here's what this is. When they come back at the end, we realize, oh, if she follows this now, she's like, just like last time, she might not get what she expected, but she's going to get what she needs.
Yeah.
And I love that setup and payoff.
Yeah. I'm going to go a little bit more. You saying that reminded me of another thing that I wanted to talk about. We mentioned it briefly, but not exactly. So first of all, like the scene where she meets the witch in this like shop where this witch has carved like 400 things that resemble bears. That's like zany and nuts and just like a that beautiful chaos Muppet of a scene.
Yeah.
Where just like you're constantly disoriented. You don't really know what's happening. You know that like what Merida's getting at the end is almost definitely going to cause problems.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's good at like trusting the audience, being like, here's some silliness. You know where this is going to. So let's. So anyway, when they try to go back to the witch's brewery or whatever, once mom is turned into a bear, they like have trouble finding it, and then when they do find it, they have to. So they come upon this cauldron. It's now empty, no bear statues at all. It looks totally different. Come upon this cauldron. And basically, it's like the witch's answering machine. Like,
yes.
Welcome, I'm not here right now. I don't remember what the options are, but like, if your dragon is sick, throw in this thing. Mm-hmm. If you're that red-haired girl who I gave a pie to, throw in this thing. And so she does, and this witch comes up, and she gives them the instructions to undo the curse. And she says, remember, if you mend the tear, then all will be well. Oh. And then she goes away, and then she comes back, and it's like red lighting. She's like, oh, just in case you missed it, let me tell you again.
Uh-huh.
If you mend the tear, and it's funny, right? Because it's like tongue-in-cheek and a little bit breaking the fourth wall, but not.
I think Merida is like she says like mend the tear, and Merida's like, what does she
that
say?
Mean? Yeah, what?
And then she pops back up. And it's great, yeah.
And like I think it's a little breaking fourth wall, because as the viewer, if you are anywhere above like maybe elementary school age, you're understanding that like this is for Merida. It's also for the audience.
Yes.
Like this is the important thing to pay attention to, and it's as you said, like repeating something twice or like 4 times in various mentions. Is a way to make sure your audience is paying attention to the things that are important. This is a goofy way of doing it, but it's still effective.
Yeah.
And you know, okay, mend the tear. Like, that's the phrase I need to be thinking about as they go on this journey if I want to, help solve the mystery. And it's just, I feel like that's probably not just Brenda Chapman. There are a lot of good storytellers at Pixar, but it just... putting together like the Will of the Wisps thing, which is more abstract and it's a lot more trusting, as opposed to like, here, let us bang these literal words over your head again. Yeah. It shows what a tremendous toolbox they have. They know that sometimes we do it in this kind of like subtext way, and sometimes it's just like funnier and frankly most effective to just say it again and make comedy out of it, because that's memorable too. And it's just
hang a lamppost on it. Enjoy it.
Good stuff.
Great call. I totally forgot that scene until you mentioned it.
I even looked at like in the airplane. I looked at you and I'm like, see what they did there?
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Kate, we're gonna do some MVPs. Pick someone, anyone, from these 2 movies. It could be a character, it could be a creative. Who would you say is your MVP of these 2 movies?
I meant to say this MVP a couple episodes ago and went in a roundabout way kind of to it. Brenda Chapman.
Yeah, she's great.
Brenda Chapman is so great at all the things.
Yeah.
I mentioned
We've
strong
mentioned her
female
name
characters
like 20 times now, which makes you as an audience know that she's important.
imagine our faces glowing in red over a cauldron.
Yeah.
Just in case you missed it, Brenda Chapman. Yeah, the Hunchback and Prince of Egypt episode. I meant to mention her a little bit more because
she was involved in Hunchback.
She was
too,
like
right?
she was involved in the story. I think she was kind of transitioning out of Disney at that point, but she directed Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
And they both had very like stronger female characters than the studios were doing at that time.
Which made for better movies.
But yeah, I'll just shout out Brenda Chapman because
Nice.
she deserves more credit for all of the things.
Yeah. Nice.
Dick?
I am going to give it to it's gonna go to Rick Moranis.
Ooh,
And Dave
what a snub
Thomas.
for Dick. Oh, okay.
I don't know. Can I give it to both?
Yeah, you can give it to both.
All right, Rick Moranis
They're a
and Dave
team.
Thomas. Brother Bear, I think the emotion works 30 or 40% of the time. I was not interested in this movie until those two appeared on the screen and made me laugh. Then I'm like, okay. But until then, I was kind of like, oh, this is pretty. Oh, they're doing like they do a weird thing, by the way, where it's presented in like, it's presented in like 16 by 9, but instead of filling the frame, at least on the Voodoo rental that we had, instead of filling the frame, it's like in the middle of your TV with black on all sides. And then when he turns into a bear, it goes full width.
Yeah,
In
so
a
it's
like
more banner.
2.3 to 1.
Yeah.
But why? It's weird as an audience.
The change occurs when he turns into a bear, so it's supposed to be that like you get a wider perspective of things when you can. Yeah, no, we both have rolled our eyes in the last 30 seconds because it's like fine, but it doesn't really lend anything to the storytelling.
No, and I think that can work in the theater, and I think it really works if like you show that that's happening, and if the limited view is for a shorter amount of time.
And
the movie that does this sort of thing best is Wizard of Oz.
I was just gonna say, like, if you don't have a reason as good enough as Wizard of Oz to do something like this, just don't.
And if you're not gonna like if you don't showcase it to your audience, then we just go, well, what is this rental broken? Why is it small?
Well, you stopped the Voodoo video. You're like, we're gonna try.
It.
I'm like, no, this is just an old movie.
I tried
Sometimes
to fix
they're
it
small.
multiple times. And then I'm just like, well, screw it. We'll just watch it small. And then it turned out that was intentional.
But it's like the first 30 minutes of an hour and a half
way
movie.
Too much.
It's
and we had no way of knowing that going in.
It was weird.
It's a very strange choice.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. All right.
But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah,
The moose.
The moose. They're great. They're the first thing. Well, he meets like a chipmunk, but then he meets the mooses, and like, I'm like, okay, I was bored by the human version, but this bear adventure is gonna be good.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, like those characters being hilarious revved me up for the rest of the movie.
It helps you.
ready to go.
It helps
go.
you make your way into that world. So a crossover.
Yes. So we're gonna cross over, like two characters
Or two elements. An element from each movie into a new thing.
Yeah.
I feel like my crossovers have become pretty predictable on this show.
Cross them into a museum.
If there's certain elements. If there are like adorable, precocious children, that's going to be my crossover. And this episode is no different, Dick Ward, because I'm crossing over the triplet bears from Merida's family with like Coda is like a close second behind Brenda Chapman as an MVP.
Yeah.
I loved this little bear. Mm-hmm. Like, he's so funny.
You really did.
Yeah. He, like, the voice acting is great. It's, like, charming, but, like, laid back and this kind of, like, in the 90s, it would be called streetwise. Like, and he's just entertaining. Like, he's stream of consciousness, but He's not so dopey. He's not a Ralph Wiggum. He's not a Mater.
Right.
But I kind of, maybe it's like just these stream of consciousness characters I can't get enough of. But yeah, like, so I want the Merida triplets and Coda the bear. They can all kind of go back and forth between bears and humans, you know. Mm-hmm. But I want like holiday specials, like half-hour specials for holidays. Kind of like the Madagascar penguins. They have like a Christmas one. They have a Halloween one. Okay. Like that's what I want. Just little bursts of them getting into mischief.
I don't want to watch that because I feel like that's a lot. But I do want them to have a play date. And I really want you to watch it. Aww. Because I think you would enjoy that in a very specific way. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I'll just say, the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you would like do your kind of dolphin-y laugh where you're laughing so hard that you just kind of lose control.
Yeah.
And it's great.
I would.
You would love that.
It would be a great show for me.
Absolutely.
While I'm watching that,
yeah.
Dick, what are you going to cross over?
Here's what I'm going to cross over. I'm going to cross over Phil Collins with the Big Bear Mardu. And just have the Big Bear Mardu eat Phil Collins so I don't have to listen to Phil Collins anymore. No.
Son of man, look to the... That's a good song. That's a bop.
Nope. So I guess my crossovers here are... it's hard because I feel like I don't want to go to the well either because I love the comic relief characters in movies and I want them to be friends. But here's what I do. I take it can either be the Mooses or it can just be the two actors, Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. But I want them to be a fourth prince or a fourth and fifth prince.
Oh my gosh.
Because they are such a small part of this movie, but the introduction of the princes in Brave is ridiculously funny.
Yeah.
Because you've got like each of the fathers of the princes tells of their glory. You've got like the first prince who's like kind of like a dope, the second prince who no one can understand, and the third prince who when he's introduced you think he's this giant dude, and then the giant dude steps out of the way and it's like this
super scrawny
prince, and it's very funny. And I would love to see more of the princes, and maybe they could hang out with the Mooses. I don't know.
Yeah, there's great. A lot of possibility.
Yep.
So Dick, this brings us to our final cut. Which is...
You have gone from hating it to just embracing it.
You just got to lean into it at some point.
I appreciate you.
Which is...
Yes.
If you were to take these movies one at a time, would you re-release them as is in 2019, which is the year we're recording this?
Yes.
Sorry if this is dating us years later. Do you...
I mean, I did say the literal date when I announced the wrestling event earlier.
This is true. Do you re-release? Do you put out a special edition where like something has been changed or altered, or
and a special edition could also just not be a movie.
It could also be just a different adaptation of the story.
Great.
Or do you toss it into the Disney Pixar animated film vault, never to be heard from again?
Okay.
Let's start with Brother Bear. What do you do?
Special edition.
All right.
100%. This movie is this movie is good. It is not on my list of movies that I'm super excited to watch again. There are clips, as I've said. There are elements of this movie that I want to watch again, but not the whole thing. What could help that is getting rid of the music and expanding the story. There is story that moves really fast in this and really unclear. Oh man, I should have just crossed over Brenda Chapman with Brother Bear.
Yeah.
That would have been a good crossover. I do that.
That could be your special edition.
But basically that's my special edition. I have someone in there to remove the pop music. I understand its purpose. I don't care for it.
No.
And put more into the story. Because I think there are elements that really, really work, And I think especially the beginning, 20 minutes or whatever, the human parts don't. They either move too fast, or they're unclear, or the characters aren't defined. And taking some more time for them, I think, would really help. So that's my special edition. What about you, Kate?
Yeah, quickest special edition is just literally taking off the vocal track of any song in it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because then I feel like Coda could, like, sing that song, and then it just turns into an instrumental. That's fine. Like, that's neat.
No.
So that's the quickest fix. But yeah, I agree with you that, like, it could have another comb over, and I would choose one through line and go with it. And I think in this movie, the through line that makes most sense is this, like, perspective shift of, like, on the outside, this other group
see through someone else's
has
eyes.
This set of qualities, but now that I'm
gotta see both sides of the story.
See,
That's
Phil Collins isn't all bad.
That's the Phil Collins song I like. It's a little problematic, but
it is a little bit. The music video is definitely problematic. But also the music video is just showing what Phil Collins is talking about.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just his thing.
Maybe that's just his style.
It's just his thing. Yeah, I think you make it more about the perspective thing, and you comb through every scene to make sure that that's in it.
Yeah.
If there's space for it to be in it, right? And yeah, that's what I do to Brother Bear, because I like this movie.
Yeah.
I want it to be better.
I like this movie, and you like it more than I do.
Yeah.
Like you
agree.
We both liked this movie despite its flaws. Kate, I'm going to put you right on the spot right now. Brave, what are you going to do? Special edition, throw it in the vault, or re-release it as is?
The closest thing is re-release. I also want a special edition. I think it would be very successful re-released. Like, it's also not that old, so it makes a lot of sense. But like, I think my kids have maybe half seen it.
Your students.
My students, yes. My 500 kids.
Yeah.
I also just, like, want, even if it's, like, animatics or storyboard, I want to know how Brenda Chapman would have finished it.
Ooh.
Because she was, like, she said, the final movie is good. I like it. I was headed a slightly different direction. That direction was shot down, so I was thrown off the project.
Yeah.
So, like, I wonder what she wanted to do with that, like, flashes of feralness, right? Because, would it have been like I think this would have been too much, but, like, the closest real world cognate is, like, something like Alzheimer's or dementia, where, like, your parent is there and then your parent is not there.
Like, they're physically there but not mentally.
Right.
Ooh.
So, like, what would have the implications been? Like, would that have been a key to the to the climax of the plot or something? So maybe it's even just an interview with Brenda Chapman of, like, hey, tell me, like, forget about whatever non-disclosure you signed.
Commentary by Brenda Chapman.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What do you do with Brave, Dick?
I re-release it.
Yeah.
I've got there's some bits that could be improved. It's not a big enough deal to go back and fix them. Re-release it. This movie's great. Go watch it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Great.
No. Hey, by the way, this was our idea, Mother Bear, Brother Bear, but we've gotten some great suggestions.
We have.
From fans.
From listeners. Who could also be fans.
I mean,
they probably like us
they're fans.
too. Yeah.
Why would you listen to us if you weren't? I guess you could hate listen.
Yeah.
So if you're a hate listener, or if you're a fan, or
mostly if you like us,
kind of neutral on us, that's fine too. But send us your suggestions. Tell us what movies you want to hear paired together, because there's been some stuff that we didn't even think about, and movies we didn't even know about that people have sent in, and it's been really exciting. And
as we are approaching the year anniversary of this podcast, congratulations, Dick.
Congratulations, Kate.
As we move into our quote unquote second season, if we're going by 12-month years, we have some ideas kind of in the pipeline of using some more listener suggestion for not only movies, but maybe some topics to explore or how to explore them. So give us, if you don't have an idea right now, start to follow us on social media so that you can be part of the conversation.
Where can they do that, Kate?
Well, they can follow us on Facebook.
At Cellmates Podcast.
Twitter.
Cellmates Podcast.
Email.
celmatespodcast@gmail.com.
That's less of a follow and more of a conversation.
Yeah, don't follow our email. That's confusing.
Weird. And we have a website.
Yes, celmatespodcast.com.
Mm-hmm. And you could also, I guess, give suggestions in reviews if you want to review us on iTunes or any of the other listening apps.
It seems silly, and I'm like super bad at leaving reviews for things. But
I'm really bad too.
It really does help. It helps the algorithm. It helps us be seen in whatever categories on whatever podcast player you're listening to.
That's right.
So help us out. Throw us a review.
Yeah.
Hey, it's 7:00.
Hey, it's 7:00.
Check out that timing.
Boom, right on time.
Let's wrap it up for Cellmates Podcast. I've been Dick Ward.
I've been Kate Phillips.
See ya.
Bye.
Rawr. Kate, who? Can I get your predictions? Young Bucks versus. Oh my God, Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers in the Escalada de la Muerte match. Who's winning?
That's different than Luchasaurus.
That's correct. Lucha Brothers.
I don't know. I mean, maybe either everyone wins or everyone loses.
That's not how it works.
Against the ladder of death.
Pick who wins.
Who's most like bears? The Lucha Brothers.
They're big. Are absolutely more like bears. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Who's gonna win in Jericho versus
guy that replaced the other
horse?
headliner?
No, Jericho's against. Oh my God, I can't remember his name.
It's gonna if you use
Jericho.
this at all, it's gonna sound like I know about wrestling.
I know.
I don't.
You kind of do.
It's neat. I know enough. I know as much about wrestling as you know about the Backstreet
Last
Boys.
question: who's gonna win, Dark Order or Best Friends?
Best Friends.
There you go. All right. Bye.